Hi, my name is Lee Crable, and I'm the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management at the University of Arkansas, Fort Smith, where I also serve as the Title IX Coordinator. I would say that I do not believe that it is essential. I know that's odd, maybe coming from somebody who made his career in higher ed, but I think it opens a lot of doors, and statistically it is still really important to give people the best chance for a really successful career if you view success in terms of scope of authority and compensation and things like that. So I actually looked at trends over the last few decades in that. And here's what I found. If you look at who's actually in the workforce being paid, the percent of those who have not even a high school education has gone down modestly, maybe from 13% down to about 9%. But the two areas, if you look at educational attainment, where they've gone up in the workplace, in other words, these are the people getting jobs, it's those with a high school diploma and those with a bachelor's degree in higher education. And then the other ones have changed less. They may have gone up, but the two that have really grown are those. So what that is telling me is that even though there's lots of options to get into a career without a higher ed degree, those that have that have been the ones getting and keeping jobs over that period of time, and it's actually increased the measure, not decreased, in terms of the percentage of those people. You and I talked earlier about our local area, Fort Smith, Arkansas, which has a lot of manufacturing and high-tech manufacturing. There's some really good opportunities for kids straight out of high school. But statistically speaking, it is still the truth that people do better at each incremental level of education added on, with the exception of professional degrees such as MDs and lawyers and things like that tend to do a little bit better than terminal graduate degrees like EDDs and PhDs. It does correlate, but that's really field specific.
Okay.
So take engineering, you like that kind of work. Well, most of the jobs and almost all of the full-paying jobs, or really well-paying jobs, require at least a bachelor's degree or at minimum an associate degree, in part because of the licensure requirements as you go up in certain fields. So in some fields, it's just required to have degrees to get to certain levels. Not true in every degree. It's not true in business. There is a correlation in business, but there are a lot of successful businesswomen and businessmen who do not have college degrees. But even degrees don't guarantee it. And a good example there is a lot of people in my family are elementary school teachers. That's what they chose to do. Well, they had degrees, and some had graduate degrees, but even after that, they would have been making less, let's say, after 10 years in the field than a high school kid from Fort Smith who goes to Baldor, which makes motors and large mechanical implements. And if they stay with it and get some internal training and move up into a management position in high-tech manufacturing, they are in almost all cases going to make more mid-career than an elementary school teacher. It's just a fact. So the degree doesn't guarantee it, but there's still an overall correlation between higher salaries and degrees, but you really have to look beneath that at the particular fields. And one thing that has struck me over about the last decade is that employers consistently are saying, now while certain jobs have to have technical skills, an engineer has to have certain technical skills, a nurse has to have certain technical skills. But apart from those, what they are really looking for are what are called soft skills, even more so than a particular degree. And that includes being able to work successfully on a team, being able to work alongside people that may have a different cultural, ethnic, religious, age background, whatever the differences are. Ability to speak well, ability to reason their way through a problem and arrive at potential solutions. Those sorts of soft skills, which good study in any field can help develop. And that's really been eye-opening for me, because it means that if people market themselves right and are a little bit patient, They can study what they want as an undergraduate and still find their way. It may just take them a little bit longer if they go a certain pathway, but they can still end up in a good position career-wise and study what's really genuinely important to them while they're in college. And I think that should be a little bit freeing for some students to not feel like, well, I have to do this field because that's the only way to get a good job. That's not what the data, that's not what employers are telling us. Part of what has happened in our society as more people have had college degrees is that more and more employers use degrees as a sorting mechanism. In other words, when only a few people have degrees, you may advertise, I need these skills. And then you have to figure out who has those skills through the interview process. When more and more students are graduating from community college and four-year schools, and I'm really talking over a 50-year period, I'm not talking about the last 10 years here, employers then could say, you have to have a bachelor's degree or an associate degree to apply for this job. It doesn't mean that that degree led to that job. It means you're probably more likely to have developed some of those soft skills if you've gone through all the training that comes along with a college degree. And so they let the degree be that sorting mechanism so they don't have to do as much of it on their own. And so probably equally talented people who don't have the degrees aren't even allowed to apply for those positions. That may be changing again, but that was an analysis done about community colleges a number of decades ago, and I think there was a lot of truth in that.